the way, Dodi lo, my beloved is to me and I am to him. El connects to Ani ledodi, I am to my beloved. Why specifically that way? Why not that my beloved is to me and then I respond? Why is it that I am to my beloved? So, an explanation that I saw in the writings of Rabbi Yanki Tauber is as follows. He says that, well, the way I understand what he says, there are many types of relationships. One relationship is the husband and wife, the male-female relationship, but there's relationships, parents and children, there's relationships of friends, colleagues, and all relationships have ups and downs. They have times that things are more powerful, more passionate, more loving, more meaningful, and times when things are kind of flat, or maybe even negative, maybe even in a negative state where you question the relationship. And then you decide to re-engage in the relationship, to jump back in. That's Ani ledodi, I am to my beloved. I'm not allowing the relationship to flatline or to get old or to get boring. I am jumping back into the relationship. But now it makes a difference. Do I initiate the relationship or do I respond? What's the difference? One of the differences is if I initiate on my terms and my level. Whereas if my beloved initiates, he or she initiates wherever they're up to. Now, not all relationships are equal. So you have a spousal relationship where hopefully the husband and wife are at similar places. But friends may be at very different places in life. A parent-child, a mentor, a student relationship, they can be at very different places in life. So am I jumping in to try to catapult myself way up to where my beloved is? Or am I inviting my beloved to come down to where I am? I'm engaging on that level. And my relationship with Hashem, Ani ledodi v'dodi li, El is I'm engaging in the relationship, but therefore I'm engaging where I'm at, where I am right now. Not going way up to where Hashem is. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, I try to ascend to where Hashem is. You know, the mystics talk about that daily we daven Shemona Esrei 3 times. 3 times a day we say the Shemona Esrei. Parallel to the 3 lower levels of the neshama, of the soul of a Jew. Shabbos and Yom Tif on the holidays, on Rosh Chodesh, we say a 4th Shemona Esrei. Parallel to a higher level of the neshama. Yom Kippur is the only time during the year we say the Shemona Esrei 5 times because we're able to connect to and express all levels of the neshama, even the highest level. We're able to go to the highest place. Yom Kippur, we're leaving this world. We're going to a higher realm. We're going to where Hashem is. We're engaging in the relationship with our beloved as he calls us, and therefore we're going to his terms. Elul is not that. Elul is, it's on my terms. See, this week's parsha is Parsha Shoftim. And as we said last week, the Parshas Re'ei Shoftim always come out right at the beginning of Elul. Sometimes, like last week, Re'ei came before Elul. Sometimes it comes a few days after Rosh Chodesh Elul. Shoftim is always during the month of Elul. The Parsha of Shoftim is a very pragmatic Parsha. The Parsha deals with society. You need to have, in order to have a functioning society, you need to have a court system. We speak about courts, we speak about testimony, we speak about honesty in court decisions. We talk about the services in the temple and how things are divided amongst the different Kohanim and the different priests. How we could function. But the Parsha begins, this Parsha, which is very much an Elul Parsha. It's an Elul Parsha because it's the mundane, seemingly. It's the daily grind. But how do we navigate the daily grind? How do I engage Ani ledodi in the daily grind? How do I engage in my relationship with Hashem on a regular Tuesday afternoon? Not on a Yom Kippur afternoon. Not on some holy day. On a regular day. How do I bring Hashem in there? How do I engage with Hashem on that seemingly mundane time? That's what Parsha Shoftim means. That's what Elul is. It's far, far away from Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Yes, we're only 4 weeks away from the next Yom Kippur, next Rosh Hashanah. But in terms of sequence, we're very far away from last Rosh Hashanah. It's been a long time since we went way up to the top of the mountain to relate to Hashem. That's okay. We're inviting Hashem in to where we are. Like we spoke last week, the Melech Besada, the king in the field. He's out in the field. Now's the time. The parsha begins with one of the mitzvahs, is the mitzvah of Zokein Mamre. What do we do if people question the authenticity of Torah? They question the authority of the Chachmei HaTorah, of those who give us guidance and tell us halacha, and how we deal with them, because it's so critical that we have a functioning Torah that's not called into question, that's revered, that's studied, that is understood by us as much as possible. That's what we must have. And we, Baruch Hashem, at Adam Plano, despite it being Corona time, and despite many people being under quarantine or not comfortable coming out to study, we have a full gamut of classes. Every night of the week, midweek, we have Rabbi Yogi teaching on Wednesday nights, Pirkei Avos, Ethics of the Fathers. We have Rebbetzin Tova Sonnenblick teaching Thursday nights for the women, a class on the Parsha. I'm teaching a class in Gemara for men on Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. And hopefully in the next week and a half, I'll be starting a class, Monday evenings, for men and women, analyzing the stories in the Gemara and try to really take some of those stories and analyze them together. Kind of study as a group on Zoom and really understand them and see what messages we can unearth. But that's what the Parsha, even the mundane times start with Torah. We got to have that connection to Torah. El is the time to be mechazik, to strengthen ourselves in Torah. There's a beautiful story that I heard from a cousin of my mother. A story that's not well known, but I feel like it's a mitzvah to publicize. The beauty of somebody who is sensitive to people and engaging in a relationship on their terms. One of the great teachers of Torah of the last generation was Rav Moshe Shapiro. He was an incredible Talmud Chacham, an incredible Gadol b'Torah, an incredible Torah scholar in Gemara, in Halacha, in Kabbalah, whatever it was, and he knew how to take the deepest concepts of Torah and bring it down to people, engage on their level. Rav Moshe, when he was living in Israel, which he lived in Israel for most of his life, would teach Torah classes around the country throughout the week. Dozens of classes. He would be traveling throughout the country teaching. There was a period of time that he had a daughter who was very, very ill, many years ago. And the family was forced to travel to the United States for medical treatment for her. And ultimately she did not make it. She passed away a young girl, a teenager. And the family was in Israel, it was in the United States, but Rav Moshe Shapiro would have to come back to Israel to teach. His students were waiting for him. That's how he earned a livelihood. That's how he supported his family. And my mother's cousin told me, she said, my daughter was best friends with his daughter that was ill. So Rav Moshe would go periodically, every month or two, whatever it was, he would go to the United States, spend time with his beloved daughter, with his family, and then he would fly back. She told me, she said, could you imagine how difficult it was for him to leave his daughter? She was getting sicker and sicker and weaker and weaker. And he never knew would he see her again or what shape would she be in when he saw her next. And he had to leave. She said, could you imagine him flying back to Israel and landing in Israel? What would he do first when he landed in the land of Israel? When he'd land in Eretz Yisrael? Would he run to the Kotel and throw himself into davening to Hashem? Would he go to a shul and find some deep Kabbalistic works to study? Would he go teach Torah? Would he go to seek the solace of other great scholars and get inspiration and comfort from them? She said no. The first place he would go straight from the airport was to my house. He would come to my house and he would come to visit with my daughter and give a message from his daughter and reassure my daughter and try to comfort her. The first place he went. That's ani ledodi v'dodi lo. That's engaging v'dodi li. That's engaging with others on their level, meeting them where they're at. That's the experience of Elul. The end of the Parsha has a fascinating mitzvah, which is very nostalgic for me. You see, 9 years ago, this Parsha, we celebrated the bat mitzvah of our daughter Miriam. She just got married, Baruch Hashem, a few weeks ago, and we celebrated her bat mitzvah, this Parsha. And we had a large crowd come together at Data Plano to celebrate, and I spoke. And I spoke about the last mitzvah in the parsha, the mitzvah of Egla Arufa. The mitzvah of Egla Arufa is, if God forbid, in the land of Israel, a man is found dead between cities, murdered. We don't know how he died. We don't know who killed him. So we measure and we find the city that's closest to where he died. And there's then a process, an atonement process, brought about through the elders of that city. And the elders of the city say, Yodeinu lo shofku es adam hazeh. Our hands did not spill this blood. To which the Gemara asks, did we really think that these old rabbis, shuffling along with their long white beards, do we really think they committed murder? Do we really think they pulled out a machine gun or something? What do you have to tell us? The Gemara says, what they're saying is, Lo partranu b'lo lavoya. We did not allow this man to leave our city without accompanying him. And if we allowed them to leave without accompanying, that's what we have to be atoned for. What's so important about accompanying people out of your city? Says the Maharal that when I accompany somebody, when I escort somebody, when I don't allow them to walk alone, you know what I'm saying? I'm saying you're important. And Hashem says, if he's important to people down here, then he's important to me. That's the mitzvah of Egla Arufa, the importance, the sensitivity to people. You know, there's a story told, there was a great rabbi in Yerushalayim, many, many decades ago. Reb Shalom Eisen was his name. And Reb Shalom Eisen was a man that before Sukkot was extremely busy. Because, you see, people buy lulav and esrog like we'll be buying in a few weeks. There's a mitzvah about a lulav and esrog that not only what qualifies a proper lulav and esrog, but also that it should be hadar, it should be beautiful. And the custom is you bring your lulav and esrog to a rabbi who's well-versed in these areas, and you say, Rabbi, is it beautiful? And he looks at it and he says, yes, no, maybe look for a better one, look for a different one. And there was a young boy in Yerushalayim, even in my day when I was studying in yeshiva, you'd go to the Shuk Arba Minim, you'd go to the marketplace where they would be selling hundreds and thousands of lulavim and esrogim to select from. Then you bring them to certain rabbis and they would look at it and they would tell you, is it beautiful, is it not beautiful? There was a young boy, just old enough to get his own lulav and esrog, and he was so excited, he picked one out and he said, I want to go to Rav Eisen. And I want to ask him if it's beautiful or not. And he walks to the house of Rav Eisen and his father says, don't go bother the rabbi. He says, why not? He says, oh, come on, you're a little kid, don't bother the rabbi, leave him alone. He's so busy with so many other things, and the boy starts crying. But what can he do? His father said, don't go in. So he listens to his father and he goes home. But what he didn't know is that Rav Eisen heard the conversation. And while he wasn't able to come outside, he didn't forget. Early the next morning, there's a knock at the door of the home of this boy. And the father goes to open the door, and he sees it's Rav Eisen. He said, Rav Eisen, why is the rabbi here? He said, I heard there's somebody at this house that wants to have a lulav and esrog looked at for me to say whether it's beautiful or not. The man looks at me and says, Rav Eisen, you came to our house? We would have come to the rabbi's house. Why does the rabbi have to bother himself? He said, because a boy is oichet a mensch. A boy is also a human being. You have to be sensitive. You have to engage in the relationship with each person according to their importance. Sometimes we forget these things and we have to remind ourselves. Egla Arufa. Egla Arufa. Lo patranu b'lo lavoya. People are important. Give them importance. Accord them that significance. These are some of the messages of El, the relationships we engage in, the relationship with Hashem, bringing Hashem into our lives on a regular Tuesday, and the way we relate to others. Sometimes the frustrations we have with others, and what's going on in our lives, and the way we relate to others. Maybe we can be a little more sensitive. Maybe we can learn some lessons. Maybe the lesson of Egla Arufa we can bring into our lives more. Let's take the time of Elul and work on our mitzvahs, ben Adam l'mokum, our mitzvahs with Hashem, our relationship with Hashem, and ben Adam l'chavera, our relationship with others as well. These sensitivities, and let's engage in Torah study. Let's get ready for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. This is going to be a very different Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur for whatever it is that you're doing. We're going to have, with Hashem's help, we're going to have minyanim, we're going to have services at Data Plano. We'll have traditional services, multiple services. We'll have multiple learner services, outdoors. We hope that you'll join. If you're not comfortable joining, or if your doctor doesn't want you to join, stay home. And we'll guide you at how to daven and make the experience meaningful at home as well. The important thing for us right now is the preparation. Let's prepare. Let's cleanse our hearts. Let's relate to Hashem. Let's relate to others. Let's see what we need to do in our lives. And let's come into Rosh Hashanah. Whatever Rosh Hashanah will be, let's be prepared. Prepared to elevate ourselves in our relationship with others and especially our relationship with Hashem. Have a wonderful Shabbos. I hope I'll get to see you over Shabbos. Last Shabbos was 105 degrees. And it was, as difficult as it was beautiful that people came to visit and we sat outside our home for a while. Actually, for a number of hours, we sat outside with people just talking to them. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. This Shabbos, as a cool front came in, it'll only be about 95 degrees. I certainly hope you'll come visit, whether I'll see you at shul or I'll see you in front of my house, whether you come spend time with us, whether we'll learn together. Have a wonderful Shabbos and a meaningful Elul and a wonderful Chodesh, a wonderful month. A month of transformation, of growth, of holy, meaningful, mundane Tuesdays.